Bienvenidos a Cordkillers Reckoning. The world of entertainment is turned upside down, and we're just sitting here trying to figure out how to watch what we want, where we want, whenever we want. I'm Tom Merritt. Brian, where's the good stuff?
Tom, I think you're mistaken. We ain't just sitting here. We're out there doing the hard work, and you're welcome, world.
We are sitting everywhere.
Yeah, well, I mean, but also mainly sitting.
We sit on the bus, on the couch, we watch TV in all the places while sitting for you.
You know that cool friend who recognizes the difference between the European edition of a DVD and an American version of the DVD?
Mm-hmm.
We're like them, except cooler.
I thought you were going to say we're like them, except we don't know the difference.
Well, okay, I said cooler. I think we both meant the same thing.
We're just using different words for the same thing. Let's move on to the supply run.
Supply run, supply run, supply run.
Where's the meat? Netflix beat expectations again. I mean, I know I keep saying it, but those of you who predicted Netflix's demise, I'm so sorry that you have to be so disappointed every time Netflix does an earnings
including ourselves. Yeah, put ourselves in that category as well.
Netflix revenue increased 17% on the year, grew profits by 44%, and gained subscribers 16.5% on the year. That's 8.05 million new subscribers worldwide. It has 277.65 million subscribers. That's more than there are people on Earth, Brian.
Well,
okay, it's not, but it's a lot. It's a lot of people.
It took me a second to realize that was a lie. I will say that I wonder, I think we're entering the zero-sum game of streaming services where at one point it was all about just expanding as fast as you possibly could, but now it's a matter about acquiring and reacquiring and giving up low-value properties and attaining more high-value properties.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about the fact that we're in the consolidation phase, right? Consolidation both in like merging companies together, but also consolidating your gains and saying, okay, we did everything to acquire as many customers as we can. Now, how do we keep them? Netflix is still growing, and they're growing because of two things, apparently. One is the crackdown on sharing. It worked more than Brian or I thought it would. The other is something that I thought would work, and a lot of people didn't, which was ad-supported tier. It is reported that its ad-supported tier resulted in 45% of new signups where it was available. It's not available in every market yet, but where it was available, it was almost half the signups are people going for that cheaper but ad-supported tier, which I know the conventional wisdom is nobody likes ads, but turns out only really loud people say they don't like ads, and a lot of people don't mind them.
Really loud, privileged, mostly white Americans say they don't like ads.
Could be that. Could be that.
Meanwhile, there are emerging markets. There are youngsters. I mean, my kids have no problem watching ads.
Yeah, absolutely.
There are a lot of people who don't care about ads.
Now, Netflix did say that this quarter that we're in right now won't end up with as many subscriber additions as it did this time last year. And they say that's because the effects of cracking down on password sharing are starting to go away, right? They've been adding people because of that, but they've kind of added all of the people that they can there. So we are looking at maybe this next quarter finding out, okay, how much of an effect did that really have?
I mean, as you and I have talked about multiple times on this program, I have gotten out of the prediction business. The only way I do predictions now is by pointing to an envelope that has been there the entire show. And then after I know the answer, then magically that's what's going to be in that envelope.
Yeah. And you've made a career on that, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you think that we will get much more out of Netflix's subscriber numbers before they stop reporting them? Remember, in 2025, Netflix is going to say, that's it. We're not telling you subscribers anymore.
Well, first of all, I think that is the right call, is for them to stop bragging. Because at this point, you should only brag when you know it's going to make everybody more impressed. and they no longer are at this place.
I think they're going to hit it before the end of the year, actually. And so, yeah, it almost might be too late. Not too late, but, like it might have been perfectly timed to end it now instead of in a couple of quarters.
I agree. And to be honest, part of me wonders if they shouldn't have stopped a while ago. But to be honest, it's probably that they've just been seeing that the trend is only getting more and more positive for them.
And they want investors to see that the password crackdown worked. They want the investors to see that the ad-supported tier worked. But they also know that at a certain point, when you're as big as Netflix is worldwide, your subscriber gains are going to be regional. They're not going to be worldwide anymore. And they kind of are admitting we're at the end of gaining numbers of subscribers. The amount we make per subscriber is the more important part. We can make more from subscribers by moving them up a tier, getting them in the ad-supported tier, and then saying, hey, would you like to get rid of ads and pay more? They can also get more from subscribers by launching new services. And that's what they did with streaming. If you recall, streaming was a free add-on to your DVD by mail subscription. It is no longer that because they don't even have a DVD by mail subscription anymore, but they separated them out eventually so they could have two revenue streams. And they have not replaced the DVD by mail subscription with anything. So they only have the one subscription offering until they get their video game service popular enough. Now, it's a question of whether they'll ever be able to do that. But one interesting thing they said in their earnings call was that they are now committing to releasing a new game every month as part of the Netflix games offering. Right now, you get all their games as part of your Netflix streaming subscription. So it doesn't cost you anything extra to get these games. And their new game every month is going to be based on Netflix IP. So there's going to be a Squid Game related game. There's going to be a Bridgerton related game. There's going to be a Sunset Boulevard or whatever, Sunset Strip related game. But they're ramping up the release schedule.
So the power of the video game releases is that they'll constantly be able to be tooting their own horn, banging the drum on the newest, latest game that they're releasing. However, they are under no obligation to actually reveal how many people are using it, how well it's valued, how much it matters, or any of that. It reminds me in the world of marketing, I talk about the value. If you go on Twitter and announce you have a new gizmo, then the whole world gets to talk back to you on Twitter. Whereas if you email everybody, nobody knows how many people used it or didn't use it or didn't like it or what have you. So I think that is a smart move for them. And on top of that, what we've mentioned before, that there's a whole opportunity for, like, they're literally inventing new types of ways to enjoy sporting events, whether it's the behind the scenes of the F1, whether it's, deciding that pickleball is going to be the new hot new game or what have you, whether it's deciding that, these constant practice sessions with competitive eating that they're doing. I think that will allow them to be highly experimental and in general give them the freedom to do the next breakthrough opportunity.
Yeah, they're real innovative. They're going to do the NFL.
Well, yes, and they will be doing that, but they'll also be trying, but
and I will give you this. They didn't invent sports documentaries, but they popularized it. That F1 series wasn't the first of its kind by any stretch, but it was the first one that I heard everyone talking about versus like, oh, some niche Sportsnet person likes a thing, right?
Well, and they get to kind of invent the popularization of certain sports. Like F1 was straight up not in my world at all.
Not in the U.S. anyway. Worldwide, it was huge, but yeah, there was a niche in the U.S. that they could use to fill.
Correct. My point being is that the less they talk now, the more they get to report the successes and hide the failures, and that is a strong position to be in.
I'm gonna guess that what Netflix would like to happen. This is not me saying what will happen, but what Netflix would like to happen, because I am no longer since Brian won't fund my business of predictions anymore. I can't do it either. I think Netflix wants everyone to start getting excited about these games, right? So there's fandoms. There's a fandom for Squid Game. There's a fandom for Bridgerton. There's a fandom for all these reality shows they do. They want those folks to get excited about these games, create buzz, people hear about them, and they start to investigate Netflix games. They start to build momentum. Sometime next year, they start adding some bigger titles that are very successful. Maybe it's one of these original IPs, maybe it's something else. And they get people saying, gosh, you know, that Netflix game subscription, that's pretty valuable. They start to see people joining Netflix for that, and then they want to split it out. They want to say, hey, you love these games. There will now be, these will always be available to the top tier Netflix subscribers. But if you're on the ad tier, you don't get the games anymore unless you pay extra for it, which is exactly what they did with Netflix streaming.
So let's take a well-known game. It's not Netflix related, but I think you'll be able to follow me here. Let's take Wordle, right? It's just a simple game, right? Sure. So what if they pulled what they pulled with F1 with the next Wordle, with like just every month come up with a new game, because there's always one that's bubbling up and exploding huge. And what if they were able to offer, let's say, $1 million prize package? Only you have to sign up, and then you have to let our producers go out there and tell your story.
Well, you're bringing the video and the TV series into the gaming. I don't think they need to do that.
I would be shocked if they don't see the synergies available.
I think they will look at that. But I don't think it's necessary. What they need is people playing the games. And I think what they want is for the games to be able to be an independent subscription that doesn't rely on the video. That doesn't mean they won't do what you're saying. In fact, I'm pretty sure they will. But it means that it's not the priority. The priority is coming up with a game that will capture everyone's attention and make people go, you've got to try Netflix games if you haven't already. This game is amazing. Then when they get the successful games is when they start doing what you're talking about.
Let me just throw this out here. I'm brainstorming.
Yeah.
No wrong answers.
Wrong.
They invent a game a month, and they keep to that commitment. But their real game is figuring out which one is the new Tic-Tac-Doe or Joker's Wild or Game Show. And then they have the metrics. Then they can send out reality crews for pennies on the dollar to go out and say, what's the one thing you would like? Would you like $1 million to be the best in the world at this game that we invented? I don't know, Tom. That seems...
Does that drive interest in the gaming service, or does that drive interest in the video service?
In the video service.
So that's what I'm saying is, like, that's all fine and that's all true. But I think Netflix is focused on growing the video game service into being something that can stand on its own.
Well, I guess the two would feed into each other, because
definitely. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, because let's say, I don't know, the third time somebody makes $1 million, you start learning to play all of the games every single time they come out every month.
Yeah, but I think what Netflix, and I could be entirely wrong here, but what I think Netflix would love is there's a game, maybe it's based on Squid Game, maybe it's not. Maybe it's just something else they commissioned from one of the many studios that they've bought that just sets the world on its ear. And everybody's suddenly going, wait, Netflix has games? And they can say justifiably, Netflix games is so popular, we are splitting it off into its own subscription. And then making television shows or movies or reality shows based on the games makes sense. I'm not denying that, but I think they want the games service to be able to stand on its own, not just be a promotional vehicle for the streaming.
Yeah, we'll see. But my heart says they should try to harvest less by having ads on the games, and instead have it be a mostly ad-free, affordable.
It's 100% ad-free, and it'll stay that way.
Great. So just make it fun, and then just keep track of who's good.
What they want what they want to do is make it so that you'll go, you know what? I'll pay $5 a month for Netflix games. I know it used to be included, but it's worth it, which is exactly what they did with streaming video. Streaming video was free with your DVD by mail service. And people said, you know, I'll pay for the streaming service separately. In fact, maybe I don't even need the DVDs anymore. What they don't want to do, what they need to avoid, which is where your idea, I think, does become important. They don't want people to cancel the streaming video to do the games. They want people to pay for both.
Yes. And I guess I hadn't even considered the possibility of canceling one for the other, but it sounds like the only place that we disagree on is that I feel like there's more money in having another hit documentary series based on.
Is there though? They've maxed out their subscriptions. That's what we've been talking about though, is that they've got almost as many subscribers as they can get.
Oh, I wonder if, okay, get this. The only way to watch live competitions is to have the gaming service.
Ooh, yeah. All right. Now you're singing my song, right? Like you can watch this on demand later, but it's live for Netflix gaming. You can
see the heavily produced documentary.
Yeah.
Where they explain like, my son never was going to amount to anything, but now he did. And
you will watch it in a VR headset, but not using the Netflix app, because the Netflix app for Quest is no more. This isn't because they're abandoning support of the Quest, which is what I thought when I first saw this headline. It's because Netflix says that the browser on the Quest is now good enough that you don't need a separate app. You can get all the things you got from the app in the browser on the Quest. So they're just supporting Netflix.com in the browser on the Quest headset, no longer developing a separate app.
Tom, if I were jaded and a fan of brinksmanship in the,
which we know you're not,
capitalism, I might suggest that would be a very effective way for Netflix to say, oh, you do have a pretty good app. Let's say you pay to host our content, so we don't have to pay to host our content.
Yeah. It's not quite that. Because they're not hosting the content in the browser. They're just and Netflix still has to do development of its own website. Yeah. Netflix still has to develop its own website to show up in the browser, but it's certainly less expensive to develop for the browser than it is to develop a separate app and maintain it and keep it in the store and all that sort of thing.
Well, you know what's way less expensive?
No.
Keeping us loud, live, and independent by heading on over to patreon.com/Cordkillers. That's where you want to go. Patreon.com/Cordkillers. Not only will you get the full show, you'll get the full experience 2 days early, and you'll get After Talk, the home of Spoiler in Time, where you'll find out everything that Tom and I have been watching secretly behind the scenes. That's right. We're cheating on you. We're not afraid to admit it.
Sorry.
And we are going out of our way to provide maximum value. Amos, name 2 things that we've done for them.
Yep. Amos had no idea you were going to ask him that question. He's probably in the bathroom.
Yep. Thank you, Amos.
Oh, no, he's not. There he is.
Okay. The first thing, we have made a poll for all of our patrons to attend to tell us what they want the full experience of. And we have added a mini killers for the Mondays when the scheduling conflicts have interrupted. We come on there and we just do a little show. And
2 things right there.
Yeah, make sure that you get something on the Mondays, even if we're going to do the full show rundown another day in the week.
Heck yeah.
And our promise to you is we will never charge you separately for our video game service.
Yeah. Well, until our provisional promise.
Until we have a video game service, then all bets are off. Patreon.com/Cordkillers. Let's move on to the search party. And yes, he does say Ricola. We'll get to that later. Netflix has secured 107 Emmy nominations. That is the most of anybody. FX, nay Hulu, got 93. Now, actually, that doesn't include Hulu, which got 26. So if you add FX and Hulu, they actually have more than Netflix, but that's not the way it's counted. HBO Max received 91. Apple TV Plus got 72 critical hits. This was FX's most nominations ever. Shogun and The Bear drove a lot of them. Back in 2016 was the last time FX even got close, when it had 56 nominations for People vs. O.J. Simpson, American Crime Story, and that's back when Fox still owned them. Netflix also got its big numbers for Baby Reindeer, which had 11 nominations. The Crown had 18. Ripley had 13. FX got 23 for The Bear, 25 for Shogun, as well as a good number for Fargo and Capote versus the Swans. HBO Max was led by 19 for True Detective Night Country, and Apple TV Plus got a 70 from Lessons in Chemistry, The Morning Show, Palm Royale, and Slow Horses. Walt Disney Company actually got the most, 183 total nominations if you add up the ones for ABC, FX, Disney Plus, and Hulu. That was the biggest Disney Emmy haul ever.
Yep. I'm sorry. Apologies to all of you. Sounds like nary a single cable ace award was granted.
Ooh, yeah. So you're saying, well, HBO as part of the Max nomination. FX is part of the cable.
I'm just still mocking the fact that they wouldn't let cable into the Emmys 30 years later. I'm still bagging on them.
The non-cable broadcaster was ABC with 38, followed by CBS with 38, NBC with 33, and Fox with 6.
It is fascinating, like in our lifetime, to see the home of prestige television come home to roost.
The home of prestige television is Apple and Netflix.
Yeah, right?
Right?
And I guess in FX Hulu, yeah.
Yeah, and FX, right? Yeah. Huh. HBO's still in there too, give them their due. Most of those Max nominations are HBO. Some of them are Max originals though. And we've seen how flexible that definition has become lately anyway. We also got a trailer, the final trailer for Deadpool and Wolverine, which featured a familiar face from Logan. Deadpool and Wolverine comes to theaters July 26th. That's this week.
The familiar face, of course, being the 2023 limo that he drives.
Was that it? Oh, see, I thought it was that lady. Oh, well, I guess I was wrong.
You mean X-23? You mean
oh,
Laura
right. Yeah, that's
from Logan? Yeah. I'll tell you what, they've done a good job of playing coy, because like I still can't tell you very much about this movie this close to its release, which normally I'd sniff out an awful lot.
Yeah.
But a lot of the content has been just, the Deadpool and Wolverine having a good time, selling Heineken, making fun of each other, doing web sketches.
I've seen more promotions for this than I've seen for some other things, and they generally focus on Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman's friendship rather than the plot of the movie. When they do talk about the movie, it's usually about the fact that Wolverine's wearing the yellow X-Men suit and how grown men cried the first time he showed up on set wearing it, and how important it was to see that for a lot of fans of the comic book.
There has been a few other little tie-ins. There's I don't know if you play the Marvel Snap game, but when you load Marvel Snap, they cover up all of the different characters with
nice.
Deadpool faces on
That's
there.
cool. Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun. I don't normally love this level of marketing tie-in to things, but they're so clearly having such a good time, and they're two actors that are so deserving of the level of success that they're enjoying that it's hard for me to want to hate on it.
Yeah. There's so much buzz that Ryan Reynolds had to deny that Taylor Swift would be in this film, because that was a rumor that was kicking around. He also said that he went to Madonna directly to get permission for Like a Prayer, showed her the scene, and she gave him a note that he used. So I'm curious what that is.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Cobra Kai Season 6 Part 1 is out on Netflix. If you're a watcher of Cobra Kai, Part 2 will come on November 15th. And Frasier is returning to Paramount Plus. If you've been watching that, Season 2 episodes come out September 19th and then weekly after that. Here's an interesting one. Anne Rice's Interview with the Vampire, The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon, and a bunch of other AMC shows are coming to Netflix. 13 series from AMC will come August 19th, 2 more on January 13th. They will be offered without ads on the Netflix plan that has ads. So AMC's basically covering the ads for these. AMC said these curated titles are also being strategically windowed to drive interest in current and upcoming seasons on our direct-to-consumer and partner platforms. So in other words, they're doing this to get these shows in front of Netflix viewers in the hopes that they'll come back to AMC and AMC properties to watch them there.
That's not bad. And I kind of admire the fact that they're owning exactly the reason for it, you know?
It's why it's not why actually, but it is one of the benefits of syndicating television, right? MASH was in reruns while new MASH episodes were airing on CBS, and CBS didn't care. It was great. People would watch old episodes of MASH and be more interested in watching the new ones. Netflix is basically the broadcast television of like AMC's like, yeah, put our reruns on Netflix. Maybe more people will watch AMC then.
Yep.
They won't be watching more Halo, though. Halo was canceled after 2 seasons at Paramount Plus. Of course, Paramount Plus canceling lots of things, reducing costs everywhere. I guess that's what happened there.
I feel like that's more of an indictment of Paramount Plus than Halo. Halo seemed to be pretty well regarded. Paramount Plus is just kind of perpetually shrugging.
Yeah. Well, they did get the Skydance deal done, so maybe that'll help. Shrug? ? Once that closes. Netflix has given a series green light to Something Very Bad Is Going to Happen. That is the name of a horror drama that is being executive produced by the Duffer Brothers of Stranger Things fame and Hilary Levitt as part of their Upside Down Pictures deal with Netflix. The series is created by Haley Z. Boston. She will also serve as executive producer and showrunner. It is an atmospheric horror series set at a wedding following a bride and groom in the week leading up to their ill-fated nuptials. Not a spoiler because the title is called Something Very Bad Is Going to Happen.
Does this feel like something that the Duffer Brothers are being hands-on with, or they're just sort of doing the Stephen King Presents or the John Carpenter Presents?
From the mind of J.J. Abrams comes Lost.
Yes.
Feels a little like Lost, if I had to be clear.
Yeah, same.
But maybe they're good with their stamp of approval. We will find out. Put that to the test. Also, kind of a meme that's been kicking around this past week is the rediscovery of test footage from an unmade movie based on the Hong Kong Phooey cartoon that was being produced and starred Eddie Murphy. Best Movies Never Made podcast featured this. This was first leaked on the internet in 2012 after the movie was not made. So it's about 12 years old at this point, but for whatever reason, it caught people's attention again.
Is there any proximate cause for why this bubbled up to the surface again? Or
it was on the Best Movies Never Made podcast, but why this particular episode of that podcast caught everybody's attention, I don't know. I personally loved Hong Kong Phooey.
Oh yeah.
It was, I watched it new.
Catman Carruthers at his second best after his role in The Shining.
This live action movie, I would have watched it. I'm sure I would have watched it. I doubt it would have been a hit. It would probably go down next to Garfield in the annals of movies. Maybe it's better that it wouldn't have been made. But it felt like it was capturing the spirit, and Eddie Murphy as the heir to Scatman Crothers felt like it was the right call. I
wonder if, let's see, 2012, they still would have been competing with obligations with Shrek, right? Shrek 4, 5, 6, 7.
Maybe. Yeah. Could be in scheduling.
Yeah. That'd be interesting.
Anyway, Hong Kong Phooey, #1 super guy. Go check it out. Finally, Twisters. the freaking baseball announcers were talking about Twisters, the sequel to Twister this weekend. And I thought, well, that's odd that they're really into that. Turns out 81.25 million opening weekend. And that beat the expectations of 50 to 55 million. And it is now the third biggest debut of the year, behind Inside Out 2's 154 million and the 82 million from Dune Part 2. In fact, it's about to catch Dune Part 2. It just fell short of catching Dune Part 2.
I just received a scroll. It says here, the movie draft is not yet ready to come back, unfortunately. Because
Twisters overperformed? Yeah.
Yeah, overperformed to the tune of it was
30 million.
55 million. Yeah,
25 to 30 million.
It's going to be a little bit longer. Yeah.
Next summer it'll be fine. Actually, this would have been amazing. Whoever had Twisters would have been over the moon, right? If they had this in the draft.
Yes. Unfortunately, we could only play. It's a 2-player game right now, Tom. We need 6 players.
Good point. All right, let's move on to the buried treasure.
Most people want to know why they suddenly got rich.
Buried treasure.
This is the segment of the show where Brian and I talk about something we've been watching and share our impressions of it with you. And you have been reconnoitering the MCU.
Yeah. So one of the beauties of having 3 daughters that are about 5 years apart each is that you get to keep on taking laps around certain things. And I really thought that this was going to be the go time to get my daughter Calliope at the age of 11 to fall in love with Guardians of the Galaxy. And she did love episode 1, volume 1. She was very patient for volume 2, as was I. But then I had the ethical conundrum of, do I just take her straight to volume 3? Because I don't know if you remember, Tom, Gamora is a little bit different in volume 3.
I recall, yeah. And it might be hard to explain going straight from 2 to 3.
So instead, it's like, you know who's really highly prominent in Infinity War and Endgame is the Guardians of the Galaxy. We made it through 2/3 of those 2 put together. She still has not seen volume 3. I don't know if we're going to watch it. It's really, really interesting. Like, we are so fortunate. If you are somebody who happened to watch the MCU from the beginning all the way through, I did not realize what a gift we had been given until this weekend, because like it was like dragging her kicking and screaming she's like, who's this guy? Well, his legs broke during a civil war. Why was there a civil war? Well, it was something about like freedoms and oh dear.
Yeah. It was a special time. And I think maybe it's not going to be a special anymore. It
may have been a once in a generation time is what I'm realizing.
Yeah.
What about you? What are you watching?
We have been watching Ginny's Kitchen on Amazon. It is a reality cooking series. This is the second series of Ginny's Kitchen, but Ginny's Kitchen is actually the successor of Yoon's Kitchen. They just changed the person who's running the kitchen. The idea is that celebrities from Korean TV and film go to some kind of vacation spot. So they've gone to the Canary Islands before, they've gone to Mexico, like, on the beach, and they operate a restaurant that cooks Korean food in a place that probably doesn't usually have access to Korean food. And then they have a show showing these actors running a restaurant. And having to take reservations and manage seating the tables and getting the food out on time and making sure the food is good and dealing with mistaken orders. This time they are in Iceland. So they are serving Korean food to people in Iceland. The difference is usually they find a location that's a little off the beaten path. So they'll have sections where they're like, well, we're open, but nobody's showing up. They're in Reykjavik, kind of like right off the main drag of the tourist area. So the shtick this time is like the lines are around the block. They're having to turn people away because people are like, Korean food in Iceland? This is interesting. And they're just getting crazy numbers of people showing up. But it's compelling because Che Woo-shik from Parasite, the kid, the tutor kid, he is the chef of the first day that they're open, and he's cooking food. And then he's front of house day 2. So he's like greeting people and taking down their names and, oh, it'll have to be an hour and stuff. Every once in a while, somebody's like, wait, I saw a Parasite. Was that you in that? Oh yeah, that was me. But they are 100% operating this like a restaurant. And I'm sure the production crew helps them when the camera is not on them, but the camera is on them enough that you see them have to deal with real situations. And it's fascinating to see them like, you know, really cooking food. They went to a boot camp before they went to do this so they could learn how to make the food well. And then, you know, showing the honest reactions of people from Iceland and tourists who are visiting Iceland, who are trying the food and what they order and what they like. It is fascinating, Brian. And I don't think it could happen in the United States.
Why is that?
Because U.S. celebrities will never work that hard. You see these folks like busting their chops to make this stuff happen. And it's like, yeah, maybe they didn't do it all the time, but they do it enough on camera that you're like, that's hard. They are sweating. What they're doing is hard. I just doubt you'd get actors to agree to work that hard because you've worked in the service industry, Brian. You know how hard it is.
Tom, I'd hate to break it to you, but you and I both still work in the service industry.
Yeah, right. But I think one of the reasons we survive that way is because we have experience. Like I worked in restaurants, I worked in bookstores, you know, and if you watch this, you'll notice like, oh yeah, no, these are real situations. Like, yes, some of it's stage managed and they're trying to make it look good, but they are having to deal with honest to goodness stuff. And it's pretty good. So anyway, if you don't mind subtitles, because you will have to deal with those, go watch Jenny's Kitchen on Amazon Prime Video.
I'll tell you what, Reykjavik was a very close second to, like, I wanted to make the joke of like, what, the South Pole in Antarctica? And it's like, I was picturing the same 7 people going again and again, but there are more people in Reykjavik.
Yeah, and there are a lot of tourists showing up. At one point, a presidential candidate from Iceland shows up. He's in the middle of an election. And he shows up. Like the election's over now by the time they're streaming this, of course. But it was just funny. Like that's Iceland for you, right? The guy running for president just walks in, waits in line, sits down, has a meal. You know, it's pretty interesting. So yeah, Amazon Prime Video. If you got something we should be on the lookout for, email it to us, cordkillers@gmail.com. Do you know what I'm going to do as soon as I get done with this show and then make sure Seven the dog has had his dinner?
Yeah, I know. You're going to walk up to the edge of your cage that they have you in, and you're going to rattle the bars, and you're going to say, "Let me out! Let me out!" And you're going to realize that you can't just shout your way out. You're going to have to get the people on your side. And so you're going to sit down at your typewriter and you're going to go tick, 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 free Tom newsletter. Tick, 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 tick. And then you're going to write a newsletter that's going to free you from your prison.
That's pretty good, actually. I was gonna promote my book, but now I don't want to. That was the way better promotion.
Well, let's say I wanted to hear about your book. Where would I find out about it?
If you went to Free Tom newsletter this past week, you would have heard me talking about Synced and how that's all I'm doing with all of my time now, is trying to get the 130,000 words of Synced down to something more manageable. I think I might have caused my editor to pass out when I gave that word count. But if you like what I do on Know a Little More and Daily Tech News Show, imagine having that available at arm's length all the time. You want to know about what's that deal with OpenAI? How does ChatGPT work? What is a CPU exactly anyway? I mean, I kind of know. That's what Synced is going to have. It's going to answer all of the important questions about technology for you in one book. If you haven't ordered it already, and I know many of you have, and I thank you for that, head on over to tomsnewbook.com right now and get it ordered, because we need to get to 100% funding before it turns into a book. I'm writing it now. It's going to be a book. If you would like it to be a book that you can hold in your hand, then you just need to do one thing. Go order it. Tom'sNewBook.com.
Can you tell me just a little bit about your process? How much talking versus typing do you do?
Talking.
I guess very little talking.
I'm not sure what the question. I really no. I'm not joking around either. I'm like, what do you mean by talking?
When I type an email, I find myself frozen because I want to edit as I am writing.
Okay.
Whereas if I talk, I just keep talking and then I edit later.
You know what? What's interesting is a large portion of the book is adapted from Know a Little More, which is a podcast
that you talked.
So in a way, large parts of it were talked, but it was written, then talked,
it was written before it talked,
and then changed to be, because it was written to be talked, and now it's being changed to be written to be read.
Perfect.
So yeah. Check it out, folks. Tom'sNewBook.com. Let's start scanning the horizon.
Send a scanning crew aboard.
Scanning the horizon!
Streaming has hit a new high on the American viewing charts, according to The Gauge, Nielsen's rating of how many hours people watch on various platforms. Breaking news, this will keep happening, I think. Streaming just keeps going up. But it did pass a bit of a benchmark. 40.3% of daily TV viewing in June in the United States was done on streaming. That's the biggest share recorded for streaming yet. YouTube is the favorite streaming platform with 9.9% of the monthly usage, followed by Netflix with 8.4%. Then Prime with 3.1%, Hulu with 3%, and Disney Plus with 2%. Hours wise,
is there anybody who seems significantly absent? I would have expected a little bit more from Amazon on this list.
Yeah, Amazon's on there, but it's a little farther down. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head where they are. They are behind Netflix, 3.1%. Amazon Prime Video, yeah. Oh, did I just say that? I did say that. Prime Video, 3.1%.
Oh, Prime. Yep, sorry.
Also from The Gauge, for the second month in a row, Tubi, the Roku channel, and Pluto TV collectively accounted for a bigger share of television, 4.3% of hours watched, than the combined total of Max, Paramount Plus, and Peacock, which you have to pay for.
Tell you what, man, it's hard to compete with the F word. Free.
Oh, that one. Yeah, that one too.
You know what? It's also hard to compete with the F word.
Which you can't watch on a FAST service. Or can you, actually? I haven't tried. Verizon is offering a free 1-year subscription to Netflix Premium, the streaming leader's highest end plan, if you sign up for a year of Peacock. So you have to be a Verizon subscriber, but it could be to their home internet service or their mobile service. You go to the section of your account that lets you add free perks, and there will be one that says, I would like to sign up for Peacock for a year and get Netflix Premium for a year as well. You pay, I think it's $10 a month or something like that for the Peacock at a discount for the year, and then you get Netflix Premium for a year for free. It's a bundle.
Yeah. No, I was about to say, I'm trying really hard to have a spin other than cable's back, baby.
I mean, it's not cable. Everybody says that because you have lots of choices. You don't have to do this, but yeah, bundling is definitely back. And starting with the All-Star Game, Sling TV added 4K streams, but isn't charging you extra for them. So YouTube TV makes you pay extra at $10 a month if you want 4K. Sling TV just like, nope, you get them. If you're a subscriber, there you go.
Is that a case of just they can now effectively just assume that everybody has enough bandwidth for all of that?
Possibly, yeah. And also that they would rather get a customer or keep a customer at this point because Sling TV is so much farther behind, whereas YouTube TV may be a little more confident that they can get the $10. We've been following the drama of regional sports networks. That's the networks that broadcast your local sports teams' games when the national broadcasters are not. So, for instance, in St. Louis, there's Bally Sportsnet Midwest that does all the St. Louis Cardinals and St. Louis Blues games when they're not on ESPN or Fox or TNT or something like that, right? Major League Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred says he wants to obtain the TV rights from all 30 baseball teams and set up a nationalized streaming package by 2028. Major League Baseball has already done this for 3 teams, the Padres, the Rockies, and the Diamondbacks, after their deals went south with Bally's for various, I think it was all Bally's, for various reasons, because Diamond Sports Media, which runs the regional sports networks from Bally's, is bankrupt. Chapter 11 bankrupt, but still bankrupt. So yeah, looks like Major League Baseball is a little greedy and is like, we just want to run all the broadcasting ourselves. Thanks.
So when you say nationalized, it's hard for me to not think of like, I don't know, Venezuelan governments taking things over.
Right. Yeah. Not socialized. Yeah.
Right. But I assume what you're saying is like no blackouts, just coast to coast. Anybody can watch this game.
Exactly. Yeah. A nationalized streaming package would potentially mean that, right? If you're the only reason you have local blackouts. So the blackouts thing gets very confusing because it can mean different things. In baseball, it means I'm in Los Angeles. If I want to watch the Dodgers, they want me to subscribe to cable and get Sportsnet LA because that's how the Dodgers make money. They don't want me to subscribe to MLB.TV because the cable company wants their deal to be worth it. So the cable company says, you can't offer your Dodger games on Major League Baseball's streaming package. You have to make people watch it through our package because we want the money. Major League Baseball is saying, if we own all the rights, then we don't care whether you're subscribing, where you're subscribing, because you're subscribing with us. So there would be no need for blackouts to force you to pay someone to watch a game because you're paying Major League Baseball either way.
I know we've had this conversation before, and I'm sorry that I need to hear it again. I'm assuming that there are just previously entangling agreements with local level, with cable providers and all of that stuff. Like what I assume most people would want to do is to subscribe to their home team. Like I like the Dodgers.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And there is a way to do that. Subscribe to cable.
Yeah.
Or YouTube TV. It used to have some of these regional sports networks. It still has some of them. DirecTV Now has some of them. But yeah, the cable companies that operate and the companies that operate these regional sports networks, they want those high carriage fees that you get from cable. They don't want people to go around that. But if Major League Baseball can get those rights back, especially if Diamond Sports Media goes bankrupt, then, that changes the whole situation. Finally, Bloomberg's Lucas Shaw reports that Eddie Q, the Apple Services chief, has been meeting with the heads of Apple Studios to rein in their budgets. Apple has spent more than $20 billion on its original TV shows. It buys fewer titles than competitors like Netflix, but it does spend a lot per title, and it still only gets about 0.2% of TV viewing, according to the gauge. Apple TV Plus sounds interested in licensing more movies from other studios now, instead of making everything themselves. Bloomberg reports that talks are underway with other studios that could lead to more selections being available that weren't made by Apple. They have some movies right now as part of Apple TV Plus, but it sounds like maybe they're trying to beef up the acquisitions a little more and not rely solely on originals.
Well, so this is interesting to me because we know that Apple is not exactly cash poor, right? And we've seen them invest in originals, some of which have been extraordinary.
Yeah, we saw the Emmy announcements, right?
Yeah, right. Are they pivoting from planting to harvesting now? Is that just all this is?
I think it's part of it. They're doing what everybody else is doing, which is saying we're done with the customer acquisition phase. Let's get to the making money phase. Except with Apple, they don't care about making Apple TV Plus profitable. What they care about is eventually making services as a whole profitable for Apple. That includes Apple Fitness, Apple Music, iCloud subscriptions, and their big bundle Apple One that puts all of that together, and also still selling devices, getting you to buy an iPhone or a Mac, but mostly an iPhone is where they make the most of their money. So it's a little less straightforward, whereas Netflix has one product, like we were talking about earlier. They need you to pay for that product. Apple has a little more latitude. So it's, I guess, even more significant that they're already saying like, okay, we did our spending. We got some eyeballs in, let's rein it in.
Well, and Apple has generous margins on all of their products to boot, so they get to play a slightly different game than all the other content creators.
Piles of cash that they're sitting on. So yeah, they're not worried about that. All right, let's move on to the chatter.
Got mail.
Wrote in and said, in Cordkillers 507, you mentioned that 1 out of the 9 billion people on Earth thought you were awful. I think you're awesome. Thank you, John. John says, I realize that I fill my ears with your voice for over an hour each day. Playback speed 2x, meaning I hear you more than just about anyone else in my life. Sure, my wife is up there, but not even my pastor gets that much airtime. I've said it before, your ability to take a subject and explain it concisely is very helpful for me to concentrate on the rest of my work while you and your team do the heavy lifting on cord killing and daily tech news. Also, what is the person saying in the second bumper? Is it Ricola? That's what I always say with it. Keep up the great work. Hopefully soon you'll be able to travel to San Jose long enough for me to buy you a piece of pie. Ah, that sounds lovely, John. And yes, Ricola.
Ricola is a throat lozenge that was available in the, or I guess probably still available now, but from the 1980s.
Good to hear from Matt Bat. With a full experience conundrum. Firefly only has 1 season. The first episode is an hour and a half. The last episode, is it the movie or the last aired episode? P.S. Remember when the first episode of a series was extra long? I feel like most recent first episodes are standard length.
Oh man, I'd hate to break your heart, Matt Bat, but if we are going to stick to the rules that we have been playing by up until now, then we don't get to play the actual pilot as the first episode. We have to go for the first aired pilot.
Oh my God, you're right.
It was the train job where they use the leftover suits from Starship Troopers in there, and then we would just have to end with not the spiritual ending to the series, because if you've listened to the director's commentary, like there was one particular episode that everybody knew it was kind of over for the show. So we would have to break all the rules of the full experience in order to give you anything close to what you're asking for. Amos looks like he has something he wants to say.
I think there's 2 episodes that never aired in the original run that only aired in rebroadcast on the DVD. So there's 2 episodes we wouldn't even be able to cover either way. Like Firefly is like the anti-full experience token. Like it would be so difficult to cover that because of all the complications.
It would be something that is beloved by all 3 of us that we would only be able to represent by its worst constituents.
How many total episodes were there?
8, I believe.
There were 8.
No,
3 of them.
The movie Serenity.
8, 3 of them unaired, leaving 5 for the full experience, which is 4 episodes long. Is that wrong? Is that wrong on the episode count? Amos is checking. Yeah. It's 8 aired, right? 13 total.
And that does not include the
14 total.
14 total. Okay.
2 didn't air. And then
only 2. I thought it was 3. Also,
might have been
bad
3.
at math.
Yeah.
Also, on top of this, and I know you're not going to want to hear this, Matt, but have I watched that show a lot? I mean,
Me too.
A lot. A lot of times.
I have episodes of Firefly downloaded locally on my tablet, my phone, and my laptop, because when I was traveling and I didn't know what else to do, I would just fire up an episode of Firefly. That's why I can't believe I can't remember how many episodes there were, because it was burned into my brain what all those episodes are. Robert from SC says, I think you said you read every one of these emails that come in. And so I just wanted to send a non-important thank you email. I want to thank you.
Do and thank you right back.
I want to thank you first for you guys being so devoted and doing such a great job with the show. And I also want to thank you for going through and doing the full experience with the Munsters. That was super special to go through and was able to experience with my mom, who watched it with me when I was young. Super special full experience. Thanks, Robert.
You know, that's one of those things, like we sort of chase whimsy on the show, and it doesn't necessarily jump into our minds. You know, we're not Machiavellian or calculating in how we pick these. We just sort of like, yeah, let's do that one.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Which is why we're about to talk about Gargoyles later on. But when we hear that it really lands with someone, boy, is that special. That is so special.
100%. Thank you, Robert, for writing in. And yes, we do read these emails, especially these kinds of emails. Finally, Bob in Jupiter wrote a nice long email saying he goes back with us to the frame rate days on Twit, is talking about live TV. And just to answer your question real quick, Bob, I'm using DirecTV now, but I know a lot of people are using YouTube TV. YouTube TV seems to be the most common live TV that people use. A lot of people just don't do live TV. They might do over the air or just watch Netflix and Hulu and stuff. A lot of the live sports is now on Peacock and Paramount Plus. Bob says, I'm retired now and TV is our primary entertainment, so I don't mind what is probably more than most cord killers want to pay. With all of the services we have now, the cost is under $140.
I'll tell you what, quick reminder, and I know we've mentioned it here and again, I'm actually a big fan of, like, if there's something live that you want to see, yes, you could go to the movie theater and pay money to see a movie, or go to the local sports pub and just ask if you could turn it on. I know that there have been several sports bars that for the very last episode of Breaking Bad, you know, they turned all of the televisions over to Breaking Bad, and it was a really special experience for everything.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And if you, for a lot of people, that's a great option. So good stuff there. That's it for this episode. Our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. We are live at twitch.tv/Night Attack Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. I reckon we'll talk to you next time.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.